You are probably aware of Lil Simz already, as she had a huge album last year for hip hop heads with the album Grey Area. It wasn't her first album, she actually has a few other albums before this. The album before that one actually was probably as good as Grey Area, to be honest, but it didn't get the same amount of shine. But you can see why Grey Area was the one that broke out, because this is the track that had probably her catchiest songs to date, her boldest songs to date, her most, I guess, distinct album to date. She really carved this new, fresh sound for herself, and was pretty much, for a lot of people, a breath of fresh air for UK hip hop. I'm not going to be putting her in the grime category, of course, but there is a griminess to the way she delivers a lot of her lyrics, I think. She has this really deep and gruff voice too, which is quite hard-hitting at times, and I do think a lot of her beats have this heaviness to them, pretty dark at points too. So she definitely brought something to the table with that album, and even though it grew off me slightly, just a little bit, I do think of it as still being one of the more exciting hip-hop releases of 2019. So to hear that she had this new EP, I was definitely interested in seeing what she'd bring to the table, because it's not even been that long since the last album. So usually when artists do this, it feels like they're just throwing a bunch of loosies together, maybe a few demo versions of songs, or just demos that never made it onto the album, stuff like that. So I was definitely excited for this for some reason, but I've got to say it does feel very much like what I just described. These tracks don't really feel fully fleshed out and anywhere near as impactful as even the album before, Grey Area, which again I'm saying is still a strong album, by the way. She should definitely be getting more recognition for that one. It certainly doesn't even feel like this is leftovers of anything from Grey Area either, because I feel like that would be a bit of a detriment to what she gave us on that album. There's nothing on here as you know, as hard-hitting as Offense. There's nothing on here that's anywhere near as beautiful as Flowers, which I consider to be her best song to date, to be honest. So yeah, I kind of feel like this is another example of an artist just throwing out a bunch of tracks just to get them out there. Nothing wrong with that, but there certainly isn't anything too exciting about this. Some of the issues that I eventually started to have with Grey Area are actually cropping up on this entire EP, to be honest, which is a bit of a fear I did have for her future, because occasionally on that album, not all the time, it wasn't like a big thing, it just every so often she kind of faded into the background a little bit with her voice. She didn't really grab my attention in the ways that I wanted to. On some of the tracks where she really grabbed my attention, she kind of just has this voice that just falls into the background a bit, a little too deep, fades into the beat sometimes. And yeah, that's essentially this EP. The entire EP is just performances from her that I don't really find to be very exciting or engaging at all. I did really like the way she came on that first track though. She has this really characterful delivery. She's throwing in these little cheeky brag lines about how people, you know, the old people got to pave the way for the 90s kids, and a few other lines too. She talks about how she's the new Lauryn Hill. Like, she's definitely hungry and sounds very youthful and braggadocious on this track. But then as soon as like that refrain hits, that little chorus comes in, it's pretty weak, to be honest. And then as the track goes on, I kind of lose my attention a little bit. There's this really annoying like thing that keeps repeating on the track. It honestly grates my ears. It's not like completely at the front of like the mix, it's not at the top of the mix or anything, but you could just hear it popping up. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just sensitive to something like this. I can't quite explain it, but I immediately like pinpointed it and it was like, nah, this is annoying. It's not a particularly good beat to my ears. I did like the line later on though about her being fuckboy resistant. She has a few one-liners every now and then that do stand out, but it's just her delivery. It gets very monotonous, I think, and she kind of needs to find ways to switch it up, because I think it could get quite boring. A generally common thread that ties this EP together, to be honest, I just find her voice just not as engaging as it really needs to be. She needs to find ways to make her voice pop a little bit more. She's just kind of falling a little bit. Like the second track, which again has a really weak hook, just a really weak hook to me. But the way she starts it off with like, this is going to be one of the deepest stories I've ever told. You've never heard me tell a story like this before. and then like the track kind of gets into it and I just lose attention immediately. It's kind of ironic how she starts a track with that, and then I barely focused on anything she said beyond that. Probably could be a me problem, to be fair. Maybe on the right ears you would find the things she was saying really intriguing and interesting, but to be honest, it's pretty corny to start your song like that anyway. You shouldn't need to tell people that this is what it's gonna be. You should let it speak for itself. I feel like Little Simz is not the kind of rapper that would ever do that kind of thing, and yet she is here doing that. That's just something Logic, I think, would do, you know, some kind of corny rapper that kind of has to show you how good they are before they even, you know, tell you how good they are before they even show you how good they are. It's not really a good trope that I like in hip-hop music. The tracks after that as well really can't speak for them that much, although the beats do get better on the penultimate track, because this is only like 5 tracks, 13 minutes, but the penultimate track I do think has a pretty nice beat. But again, just not really finding that much to take away from this, and maybe that's not really the point. It is an EP not that long after her album, probably isn't, you know, needed to be taken that seriously, to be honest. But then you do hit the last track and it does feel like it's attempting to be a slightly more atmospheric, slightly more serious, with the way she's singing, the way the instrumental comes in. But it's hard to praise a lot here when the songs themselves just aren't particularly very enjoyable, especially not for me. But I think other people who like her music will probably get at least something out of this. But I'm just finding it a bit weird that I'm actually really not getting anything out of this at all when I do seem to like her so much. So maybe it's just a bit of a misstep. Maybe it's just something that will be completely eradicated by the time she puts out her next album. We'll see, but I'm hoping that you know, this is just like a hiccup in her discography. Let me know your thoughts though. If you really like this, I'd love to hear why you like it so much, or if you think the same as me, I'd love to know. Let me know. Thank you for watching my review. Have a good day and goodbye.